Welcome back into the Do Hard Things Today podcast. Jed Blackwell, Kevin Harrison, and Coach Katie Malone here. We are talking, just kind of catching everybody up on all the training. We are coming out of summer steadily into the fall now, into September. A lot of things been going on over the summer. I want to catch people up on that. We're going to talk a little bit of Dopey Challenge. We had our first Dopey, the first episode of the series is already out, and now we're going to talk a little bit about race strategy, and then we're going to finish up talking about how you can get faster and improve your running and those kind of things. So we're going to cover quite a few things in this podcast. Like I said, we've got Jed over there on the controls, making us sound good and fixing all of our problems. If we have an occasional dog bark or something, he takes care of that for us. And of course, everyone's favorite triathlon and running coach, Coach Katie Malone. So, Coach, what's been going on in the Malone coaching world?
I can't believe summer is already over. The summer was incredibly busy, but in lots of good ways. This summer, I did not train for anything specifically for myself. I really focused on my athletes' needs, and that turned into a lot of 100-mile bike rides. And really like leading people through the mountains and doing lots of long, hard rides. And I believe that the do hard things today and tomorrow will take care of itself was said more than once on the bike rides. Nice. And I was like, that's not what I say. That's what Kevin says. But it's okay. So it was definitely noted. So lots of rides. Yes, we have hit some gravel sections, which I posted about one of them on Facebook. But nobody really appreciated my gravel section, but it did keep us out of traffic. There was no traffic on the gravel road. But also none of the triathletes wanted to ride the road bike or their tri-bikes on the gravel. Also did some kids camps at the YMCA in Simpsonville. Took Keen to do a couple of kids races that he absolutely loves, even if it meant driving 14 hours home last Sunday from Wisconsin because we were at a wedding. We drove 14 hours so he could race on Monday morning. That was tough. That was really tough, but he had so much fun. It was worth it. The things we do for our kids, right?
That's right. And I saw some pictures of the kids triathlon. How did that, I know, how many years have you been doing this now or been a part of that?
So the kids triathlon, just a little bit of history here. It was originally at Sugar Creek. I do not know what year it started exactly, other than that Keen did it the first year he was 3, almost 4 years old, and he's been doing it ever since, and he just turned 11. So it's been going on for a while, but they had to move it from Sugar Creek. That kind of ran its course. They moved it to the Simpsonville YMCA, which was actually a really good thing because they are now able to have a closed course for the kids. No cars on the course. Made a lot of the parents feel better. But I mean, they had, I don't know how many kids were there, but there were probably 400 kids at least.
It looked like a lot. I know our two daughters did it several years ago. It was over in Simpsonville, kind of in a little neighborhood over there.
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
That was another different kids triathlon that also does not exist anymore.
Okay.
But that was a fun one because we did that. We were there with you the one time, and all the kids were little, and like now they're all big. It's happening very fast. And now we can, with one of my daughters is a cross country runner, and one of my daughters is a swimmer. They can do a relay.
Yeah, we could do a relay. And
I don't think they have that for the kids.
Yeah, they could do a relay, but so that's good. And it's been, I said I'm in the middle of Dopey training. You know that generally kicks up in July, leading into the January races, and so a lot. They've been really focusing on running, not doing as much swimming or biking or anything, but just really trying to get my run dialed in and just get in a good spot to be able to do some things next year and the year after that I've really have kind of been on my bucket list to be able to do.
I think sometimes it's nice, like even though I did swim and bike a lot this summer, I didn't run much because I've had a hip injury. And, for you just to focus on the running, I think sometimes it's really nice to be able to change it up in terms of what you're doing and what you're focused on. It's the beauty of multi-sport is that, you don't always have to do the whole thing. You don't always have to do all 3 sports. You don't always have to do Ironman. There are so many options available. And honestly, not training for any specific event this summer, it gave me a lot of joy just in being out there and not feeling like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. I was just present with my athletes that I was riding with and making sure that everybody was getting their workout that they needed and really giving the instruction that I needed to. And it's been a long time since I've had a summer where I really could focus on everybody else's needs. It was good.
Yeah, and we're hopefully going to be talking to some of those athletes because you got some pretty big things out there.
We do.
That they're going to be doing. You want to talk about any of those?
Well, yes. In 2 weeks, we've got 3 people from our team who are leaving for Nice. The World Championships for Ironman have been separated into a men's and a women's field. This year, the men will be in Kona, and the women will be in Nice, France. So we're not all traveling together, but we will all see each other while we're over there. So we've got 3 girls going to Nice, and then we've got 1 gentleman who, if everything goes well, will be going to Kona. He had an accident earlier in the summer, and he broke his pelvis in 4 places.
Oh.
But we've been working on his mental strength because, if you can't you can still visualize the race. You can still see yourself going through the motions. And so we have done everything possible to prepare him, at least mentally, for what he is going to face when he gets to Kona. So yeah, those are, I don't get to go to Kona, but France is pretty fun. So I'm very excited about that.
Jed, you thought that was nice, France, right?
I did. And I get to go to either Malden or Spartanburg most days. Yeah. And you get to pick France.
That's exciting.
And you get to pick France or Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clearly I'm doing something wrong.
Well, I think we need a reporter to report on all of it.
I'm in.
Yeah. Done. Sign you up. You could interview like all the athletes.
Done.
We could just be like, we're the Do Hard Things podcast. It sounds so cool. People have no idea.
That's right.
I think that would be pretty awesome actually. But next year we'll work on that.
Well, mine isn't quite as exciting as going to Nice, France for the World Championships, but we do have the Dopey Challenge, and we have promised that we will give people what I believe are the 4 race I believe there's 4 unique race strategies that you can take into this 4-day event.
But back this up.
All right, let's back up.
Explain to people, because, I honestly wouldn't have no idea what the Dopey, is it the Dopey Challenge?
Dopey Challenge.
Of course, it is aptly named. Anyway, it is insanity that goes on at Disney in January. Tell us exactly what it is.
Okay, so there's something out there called Run Disney. Run Disney is kind of the athletic wing of Disney. They put on running events down in Walt Disney World in Orlando, as well as out in California. And so the crown jewel of that is Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend. It's going to be usually the second weekend of January. That's where the Walt Disney World Marathon is, the Walt Disney World Half Marathon. There's a 10K and there's a 5K. They started a challenge, which is called the Dopey Challenge, which you do all 4 of those. You do the 5K on Thursday, the 10K on Friday, and then the half marathon on Saturday. Then that all culminates with completing your 48.6 miles on Sunday with a marathon. And so if you complete all of those, you are successfully completed the Dopey Challenge.
But just to be clear, because I've heard this from other people, that when you're running the marathon, you can just like stop and ride the rides?
You can. It is and we will talk about that in some of these strategies, but you have to maintain a 16-minute per mile pace. So that is the minimum required pace that you have to in the half marathon and the full marathon to finish and get your medal and be an official finisher. And
that's walking.
Yeah, that's walking, and we've talked about that, and we will actually talk about that a little bit as well. Of there's a lot of people that say, "Hey, I can walk. It's no problem. I can walk a 16-minute mile, no problem." And it's like, okay, well, maybe 3, 4, or 5 miles, but can you walk 26 miles after you've done? And so there's some preparation that has to go in, even if people are going to take a strategy of just kind of going out there to have fun. But it is, you can, the thing that makes it so much better, and Jed can speak. Jed went down and did his very first 5K last year at Disney. It is as much of an experience as it is anything. It's not like your local half marathon or local marathon. There are character stops all throughout during the marathon, there will probably be 20 or so character stops that you can stop. You don't have to, but you can stop, wait in line for 2 or 3 minutes and you get your picture made with Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or whoever. There's marching bands playing. There's actually, in the marathon portion, if you time it right, you can actually ride a couple of the rides while you're out there on the course. And so it's as much of an experience as anything, but you have to, that 16 minute per mile, where some people get in trouble is they start doing all of those things and then they get behind and they get behind and they're not able to catch up, and then they end up not being able to finish.
Okay, so there's a strategy, and they do have really cool medals too.
Yes. Best medals. And if you do the Dopey Challenge, you get 6 of them, because there's another challenge called the Goofy Challenge, which if you just do the half and full together, you get the Goofy Challenge.
Right.
And so if you do the Dopey Challenge, you get all 4 medals plus the Goofy Challenge plus the Dopey Challenge.
Because I know years ago they had a half Ironman there, which I did, and this comes back to the medals. So I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. You get to do a half marathon or half Ironman at Disney. And what I realized very quickly was they actually had us kind of on the outskirts of Disney, and they brought us out the back gate for the bike. And then the run, they had cut some new trails, which were not good. And then when I finished, I got just this dinky little Ironman medal. It wasn't like a good medal, and it didn't have Mickey Mouse on it. And I honestly thought I was going to cry. I don't really care about medals normally, but in my mind, it was on Disney property. It should have Mickey Mouse on it, and it didn't. Anyway, so I'm really glad that they made up for that with their medals.
The medals are awesome.
The medals are awesome. To your point about the characters, it sounds like a dumb thing to do. I've been going to Disney I've been 20 times in 25 years.
Wow.
I've never seen these characters before.
What?
There are characters that you've never seen. The Big Bad Wolf's out.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't appear in the park at any time.
It's probably too hot in there.
Yeah. I think the Genie was out this year. It's characters that you will not see any other time. That's the motivation to stop.
Okay.
Because, if you're running this thing at Disney, you're a Disney person to begin with.
Obviously.
So.
Well, I texted Jed about the Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
I had never seen him, and I've done all the Dopey challenges. I had never seen the Big Bad Wolf out on the course. He was out on the 5K, and I actually texted Jed when I went by. I was like, "Hey, mile 1.5 to the left is the Big Bad Wolf."
Right.
Did you get your picture taken with the Big Bad Wolf?
I did.
Was he taller than you are?
No, he actually wasn't. I was,
Huh.
and that's the same. I run into that like with Goofy and some of the others that I do. I'm usually just a tad tall, but they're tall.
They are tall, but
yeah,
I was
really
just curious. The Big Bad Wolf, kind of should have been taller than you.
I think Kevin and I are to the point that if we wanted to play a character in the park, it's either the Genie or Baloo.
The Genie.
We're about done.
The Genie.
Yeah.
I would like to see either one of you as the Genie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a whole nother subject. All right, let's stick to the running.
All right.
So Kevin, you're talking to me about, there are all these different strategies.
Yes.
Like you've got what's your goal? Is your goal to do all these races fast? Is your goal to do the half marathon fast, the marathon fast, have your 5K PR? So what are you after? And what do you think you need to do to get there?
Yeah. Okay. So let me quickly tell you what those 4 strategies are. Then let me tell you what I'm thinking. Okay. So the first strategy is it's Disney. This is a party. We're going down, and I want to do all 4 of these races, but every character stop, I'm going to try to ride the rides, and I'm just going to try to survive, and I'm not really worried at all about even if I walk the entire time.
Still requires training.
Still requires training. That is the caveat I will say on that is people will say, they'll see 16 minutes per mile, and they're like, oh, well, I went out and walked around my neighborhood and walked 3 or 4 miles, and I was able to maintain 16 minutes. I was like, well, there's a few things you need to understand about Dopey Challenge is you're up at about 3:30 in the morning, 4 straight mornings. These races are starting at 5 a.m., and then you're probably, since you're at Disney, like our whole family went last time and our whole family's going this time, you will go out into the parks and you will probably walk 10 miles a day in the parks. I mean, that just happens. So you have to train, even if you're planning on walking the entire thing. You can, when you're standing at the beginning of a marathon and you've got 26 miles and you're tired, you're exhausted, and then you're like, okay, I've got to maintain a 16 minute per mile. Probably what's going to happen at that point is you're going to have to make a decision of, okay, I'm not going to be able to stop at character stops. I'm going to have to literally go out there and just walk 26 miles. And that's a long, miserable day. So
this requires some serious commitment because walking doesn't use the same muscles as running.
Yeah, it does. And so that's one of the strategies. The second strategy, which I think is insane, but some people try it, is take every race as its own race. Ooh. Show up at the 5K on Thursday, treat it like your local 5K. Go out and just run hard. Next day, 10K, get out there and just run hard. Get to the half marathon, get there and, hey, I'm going to try to run a hard half marathon. Everything's going great with this strategy until about mile 9 or 10 of that half marathon. And then you start realizing, oh, I don't have the juice here. And then you show up on Sunday with the anticipation of trying to run a hard full marathon, and you're completely out of gas. And then you're in for a long day. Some people like to do that, but if that's, I'm just saying, that's one strategy you will see.
I don't recommend that one.
I don't either.
It does not sound good at all. It sounds like a really good way to get hurt.
Yep, I don't either. So the final two are the ones that I think make the most sense. And the first one is the marathon's the goal, which means you're going to take the first 3 days extremely easy, and you're going to try to put up a decent marathon time. That takes some. You've really got to take those first 3 days easy, especially the Saturday, the half marathon. You're going to be doing a good bit of walking, just taking it easy, staying hydrated, just doing all the things you need to do. And then the final one, and this is the one that I'm choosing to go after this year, is the half marathon. The half marathon is your race. And so you take those first couple of days just kind of getting, just getting yourself in a groove, not going all out, and then you go into Saturday and you run that half marathon as fast as you can run it. And then that the next day for the full, you're just going to take it easy. You're going to walk, run, you're going to enjoy, maybe do some characters you haven't done, maybe ride a ride. You're going to take that Sunday easier. And so that's the one that I am shooting for. And I'm fast is relative. But it's been a while since I've been under 2 hours in a half marathon. It's been several years since I've been under 2 hours in a half marathon, but that's really what I'm shooting for as my goal in January this year.
All right. And we have already begun the fun.
Yeah. I've started running more, started doing some more targeted workouts to increase speed, cadence, those kind of things. And I think that's what we're going to so what I wanted to do, and your expertise in this is, so if someone is choosing the half marathon as a goal, and maybe we have a lot of people are listening, a lot of people that do Dopey listen, but for the most part, most people that are listening are never going to do a Dopey challenge, but they would like to get faster in a half marathon or marathon, whatever that may be. What are the strategies and what are the things that people need to do just to get faster? People just want to get faster. They want to run better times. What
without doing the work? Yeah.
Yeah, without doing the work. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to do the work. But what? So if let's say people are willing to do the work, what do they need to do?
Well, with any good training program, I feel like there are certain elements of the week that everybody should have. No matter what distance you're doing, the distances will vary, but you have to have your speed work. you have to have some form work, and you have to have your endurance work, like the long workouts. And like for a half marathon, if you're trying to go out and run a really good half marathon, you're going to be running over distance, which means a half marathon is the 13.1. Your long run should probably be 15, 16 miles at least to really go into it well prepared. You're going to have speed work. This is something that I get a lot of pushback from, like when I tell people this, not people who are actually paying me to coach them, but just, when I'm talking to people. Oh, you want me to do speed work when I'm doing a marathon or a half marathon? Speed work never goes away. You will never get faster if you do not do speed work. Now, doing speed work doesn't mean like I just write it down and you kind of go faster. Like you got to go fast. Like if you normally run 10-minute pace, I want to see speed work at 8:30 to 9-minute pace, at least. Yeah. It kind of, you got to get the cadence up.
So why is that important? Because a lot of times you hear people say, to go faster, you got to go slower. You got to build this base up.
Well, that's the endurance workout. Okay. We have different days, different work.
So it is wrong when people say, I'm just going to get miles in and that's going to make me faster. They've got to do intentional speed work.
It doesn't hurt if you get some miles in, depending on your age and your physical ability. But the older you get, the less of that you can do. You got to have more quality and less quantity.
She's looking at me when she says that.
I've been looking at you the whole time. We're having a conversation.
I am 51 years old, about to hit my 12th or 13th. I can't remember which one it is. However many there have been.
It's hard. A lot. He's a perfect dopey. I've heard that once or twice. This is also, in case anybody is new to listening, this is Kevin's favorite subject, is dopey.
It is.
It's his baby. So things we're doing, we're working on the speed. You're working on making sure your form is good. And so cadence does fall under form in my book. Cadence is how many steps per minute you're taking. Ideally, most people should fall between 170 and 180.
Okay.
This does not mean you're sprinting at a cadence of 180, but if you are running fast, your cadence should go up. Your heart rate should go up. Then when you do your recovery, they should both come down a little bit. That's a thing when I look at workouts that people have done to see whether they're effective or not. If you just go out and run and you don't do those, you're not going to get faster or better. Cadence, if you have a higher cadence, higher step rate each minute, it means your contact with the ground is less, which means it's going to beat you up less.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how tall you are or how short you are. Now, do short people tend to have a little bit higher cadence? Yes. Do cadences vary? Definitely. But I will say, elite runners have a higher cadence. I have yet to see somebody running at a very high level have a super low cadence.
Well, I'm obviously long-legged, and
you are.
It is. You always think, well, if you got long legs, you want to take advantage of taking longer strides. But even with, I remember, I was thinking about this with our daughter who has long legs too, and runs. Even if you shorten those strides and your cadence is higher, you're still going to be covering more ground than people that are shorter than you. And so you're still getting the same advantage. You're just not beating yourself to death. And hopefully, and again, because running is such a brutal sport on your body. I mean, it's just tough on your body. You've got to keep yourself healthy as well. And I've noticed that when my cadence is higher, I feel better as far as physiologically running.
Well, that's where if you're running a little bit less, but you're doing more quality, which you've been doing lately, getting that cadence up, on intervals, it makes a huge difference. You feel better. You feel like you're powerful. Slogging along for 3 hours with a really low cadence and then walking and then slogging along, that is not going to make you a better runner.
Yeah.
It's just practicing running with usually poor form.
Yeah. So what else do people need to, how about the whole thing if people, let's say, all right, so we're in September, so October, November, December, we have about 4 months until the Dopey, maybe 4 months until someone's half marathon or something. How important is it getting your nutrition, your weight, all of those things dialed in? How much of a difference does that make? And I know sometimes that's a touchy subject, but if you're really wanting to get yourself, faster and do, how do all those things play into? Because it's just physiology. I mean, if you've got 5 or 10 pounds that you really, from a health standpoint, need to get rid of, that's 5 or 10 pounds every single time you go out for a run, and every single step you take, you're hitting. Mm-hmm. Speak to that.
So, first of all, it's not going to come off quickly because you still need to eat. Can you clean up your diet? Most of us have lots of room to clean up our diets, like what we're eating, when we're eating, how we're eating. So start to clean up your diet now. Don't wait till 2 weeks before, because that's probably not when you need to starve yourself to lose 10 pounds. Usually losing 1 pound a week is pretty realistic, doable. So I recommend just cleaning up your diet, eating real food, stay away from processed foods, any processed foods. Kick some of the sugar out of your diet. Those are really simple things to do. Like if you drink sweet tea all the time, stop drinking sweet tea. You will see a difference almost immediately. Yeah. Soft drinks. And these are things that easy, and we just get into habits of like what we like. And, I deserve to have sweet tea when I go out to eat. But wait a minute, you go out to eat every day at lunch. Oops. There's a problem. Also, look at what you're eating. What are you eating? Are you eating out all the time? Can you pack your lunch and know what you're eating instead of like going to a restaurant and eating just whatever you get? Yeah. There are simple things you can do just to clean the diet up. And it doesn't take going to a dietitian. It doesn't take some extreme makeover. Cut one thing out each week. Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yeah. How about cross training?
Oh, yeah. So strength training, if you want to lose weight, start strength training. And again, anything I'm going to recommend is not it's not life-changing. It is in the big picture, but like the first week you do it, do 3 times 20 minutes. That's plenty. Do some core work. You can do core work every time you go in there. Do your strength training after you do your run so that you have a recovery day before you run again. Yeah. I'm taking into consideration that you're not running every day, which for most people, unless you're young, I really don't like people running every day. I think it doesn't give you any recovery. So I always recommend strength training after your run, especially if you've had a hard run, then do your strength training and then have a recovery day. You don't want to do your strength training and then go into your track workout the next day. Yeah. It's not going to go well. Yeah. And so like the timing of everything really is important. Also with the food, make sure you're eating consistently throughout the week, throughout the day. You always have snacks with you that are healthy versus you're starving and then you're going to eat
bad
junk.
Decisions.
Yeah, well, exactly, because your brain isn't functioning. Carry your water with you. Living in South Carolina in the summer, if you're running, you have to have an electrolyte drink. You can't just drink water. I see pictures all the time of people like carrying their gallon jug of water around. They're like, look, I'm going to drink this whole gallon of water today. Okay, it's great that they're hydrated, but they are just flushing the electrolytes out of their system. So there are now so many different electrolyte drinks. Now, does everybody need something like an LMNT with 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it? Probably not. Liquid IV has 500 milligrams of sodium. That's not bad. I mean, like, depending on how much exercise you're doing, depending on how much you're sweating. But honestly, a lot of times just a Gatorade will be fine, or a Powerade, or whatever you like. You don't have to get the one with all the sugar in it. You can get one of the light ones as long as it's got those electrolytes in it. And look, like, start reading the labels on things.
Yeah, and some of those actually have, in the zero categories, they have, I think it's Gator Light.
Yes.
And like there's another one that has more electrolytes and doesn't have all the sugar and stuff
Right.
in it. I'm not a big like Gatorade and Powerade, like the full tilt stuff. It's like glorified cool. I mean, it's just so sugary and doesn't have a ton of electrolytes.
No,
in it.
read, and that's
Yeah.
why you really need to start looking at the labels, like how much sodium does something have? How much potassium does it have? Like, just turn the label over and look at it. Even like if you're in a convenience store and you're trying to figure out which one to get, I always look at it because they can be wildly different.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else? If someone's taking this opportunity to want to improve their speed, is there anything else that you would want to encourage? And especially speak specifically because the people doing the Dopey Challenge are obviously going to have to be training for the mileage of getting that marathon in as well. Anything unique to that kind of training that you'd want to speak to?
I do think that there is, because this is where the distance comes in, like that endurance day. Don't try to do your distance day, like make it really long and really hard. Just go easy, super easy. Doesn't matter if you take walk breaks, but start practicing your nutrition. And when I say nutrition, I'm not talking about what we were just talking about with like what you're eating every day. I'm talking more about like if you're going to take in gels, if you're going to take in like Cliff Blocks, if you're going to take in Honey Stinger little gummy things. Look at how many calories there is in each package and then kind of base what you're eating off of that. Typically, you can take in, when you're running, about 100 calories every 30 to 40 minutes. Everybody's going to be different. If you're not used to taking in calories, you might have to start a little lower and then increase it. But I see all the time people posting, oh, I'm going to eat 2 blocks of the Cliff Blocks every hour. And I'm like, oh, that's like 60 calories. They're about 30 calories a block. You need probably 100 to 200 calories each hour. Okay, so if you are depleted starting in the first hour, by the time you finish that workout, you are going to be wrecked. So really, like, the key is taking in that sports nutrition before you feel like you need it. Hydrating. South Carolina, really anywhere, 10 ounces of water every 30 minutes is kind of the guideline I like to go with. Can you put electrolytes in that water? Yes. I choose not to. I just use plain water and then my sports nutrition, which is usually gel. I like the Martin gels. Their texture is a little strange if you're not used to it. Have you tried those? And
Don't like
that texture.
Don't like the texture.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of I find that's a general consensus of people who haven't taken it often. Once you take it and you realize how easy it is on your stomach and your digestive system, all of a sudden I can get past that. And they don't taste bad. They don't have a strong taste, sweet or salty. They kind of taste like nothing, but they're really easy on your digestive system, which in my book counts for a lot.
Yeah.
So I think, doing those long, easy runs, testing out your nutrition, and really kind of dialing that in, carrying water. I know runners hate to carry nutrition and hate to carry water. For me, where I run, I'm typically like in a very rural area. There is nowhere to get water. I mean, maybe I can run to somebody's barn, but usually there's no water. So I use a backpack from Orange Mud that you can actually put 2 water bottles in. It's great because I can clean them easily. It doesn't have one of those bladders that's a real pain in the neck to do. So find a hydration system that works for you. I think it's AmpiPod or something like that. They have them at REI. They have a waist pack with a bottle that kind of fits in sideways, and it really fits in the small of your back. It doesn't move around at all. It has a pretty big pocket on it too. very comfortable. That's another one of my go-tos, for a workout that's under an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, a lot of good stuff here. We probably need to do a podcast at some point just about speaking strictly to nutrition and how that's one that people just get completely messed up as they're running. How do all these things interact with each other at those times? But
don't make it complicated.
Yeah.
I really think that we've kind of gone through a phase where people have made nutrition so complicated. It's really not. It's really not. It's calories. Yes, there's a new trend with carbohydrates. Try to get as many carbohydrates in as you can, which you can take the carbohydrates in, but they might come up if you're not used to it. Most of these things have like 30 grams of carbohydrate in them, which is fine. You will see pro athletes taking over 100 grams of carbohydrates. You got to train your gut to accept that. Don't go out and start with that.
Well, and you have to train as you're training. That's when you have to be training yourself because as you're experimenting with these things, something's probably going to go wrong at some point. And when it goes wrong nutritionally in your stomach, you don't want that to be on race day.
No.
Let that be on training day.
And a lot of times when you do have stomach problems and GI issues during training, a lot of times you can trace it back to what you ate the night before or the day before. So you always kind of, if you have a long run on Sunday morning, whatever you eat Saturday night, don't go out drinking with your friends. Yeah. It's not going to end well on your long run. You might get away with it one week, but the next week it will come back to get you.
Catch up with you. Sweet. Well, it's my plan. Trying to get under 2 hours for the half marathon portion at Dopey. And so I'm going to listen to this as soon as it comes out. I may on my next run, I'll listen to this podcast and I will take these things to heart, try to keep my cadence up, try to keep my nutrition right. And, 4 months, got 4 months to work on this and get that time down to where I want it to be. So for those of you out there listening, listen to the coach. She knows her stuff, and we can hopefully whatever you decide to do. Now, if you decide to do I'm going to try to go race every single race, just know that you were warned that that's a bad idea. But you'll find that out about 10 miles into the half marathon on Saturday, and then you're going to be in for a long, long Sunday.
I think if that's your strategy to go there and race all the races hard, that your training needs to look a lot different.
Yeah, a lot different.
You're going to need to do back-to-back workouts on Saturday and Sunday where you're doing speed work and a long endurance effort close together. Your training is completely different when you're going there for speed.
And most people that are thinking that aren't thinking about doing that. They're just thinking, that sounds like a great idea until it's not.
Okay. Yeah. It's not really a great idea.
So, So, all right. That's number 2 for the Dopey series. We'll come back next month with another Dopey series. We will be 3 months away then. So the key word here is consistency. Be consistent in your training, and this thing will not overwhelm you. But if you're not consistent in your training, just know Thanksgiving's coming, and then that starts an entire month that is tough to get training in, Christmas right around the corner, and then next thing you know, you're standing at the start line. So just be able to say you did everything you could to prepare yourself when you're standing at the start line. And if you will do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.